Hey guys, it is Friday. Time for the end of the week wrap up. So we're going to start off with a Suburban. Um, this thing's been tying up my lift for about 3 months now, waiting for a few minor parts and some words from the customer. And quite frankly, I can't tie up this lift anymore. So I went ahead and purchased a few parts we were missing. Got the motor and transmission installed, got the rear end installed, and we're going to get this to where we can get it back on its wheels and rolling, and then decide where we're going to go with that. As far as the Firebird goes, we've made quite a bit of headway this week. Got in the new bushings and radiator support, new radiator, all the tranny lines are hooked up. I can't talk. Hooked up. The upper and lower radiator hoses, belts and pulleys, put in all the brackets for the uh, spark plug wire mounts, loom holders, and just wrapped up a lot of the little odds and ends. And Junior has spent the week polishing these fenders and hood, and got those looking quite respectable. So next week we're going to wrap up putting the front end together and make it look like a car again. So making good headway. The red Camaro here, as you guys know from that last video, it was purchased by a gentleman. So it's going to go to a new home. So there's a couple little odds and ends that we needed to touch up. This car sat here painted for probably the last 5 years. Sat up on the lift, actually. So there's a couple little spots that we need to go over. We're going to give it a good polishing and finish painting the front end. We had never painted the front end on this. So we're going to get that wrapped up and then just to go to his new home. This week's question and answer comes from Ray Hartman. Ray gave us a few to look at. So, number one, he said, do you ever get stumped on anything while building a car? Examples, electrical, aftermarket fitment, parts, that type of thing. Well, Ray, after 40 years of doing this, um, my stump days are kind of over, but I will give you a simple one. Um, Relays, electrical relays, they are either triggered by ground or triggered by hot, depending on what you're using them for. And for as many years as I've wired thousands of relays. Always seem to get stumped on, whether it's 86 or 36 or whatever number prong it should be. So I always have to go back and look at that. So that's one thing that always kind of stumps me. I kind of laugh about it every time I pick up a relay. It's like, oh, damn. But it's what it is. As far as aftermarket parts go, none of them ever fit. We spent a lot of time massaging them and making them do their thing, do what their intended use was. Very rarely do they ever work. So that's kind of the norm. It's just kind of the way that goes. Second question was, what's the trick to getting swirl marks out of paint? Well, as you can see, we're pretty good at it. the trick is the trick is following the rules. For example, we use a 3-step process. The compound here, which is a white cap, uses the white pad, and that is 360-60, which is a compound, basically. The black cap, which uses the black pad, is a fine compound. Essentially, a swirl mark is nothing more than basically a sand scratch. So using that finer compound kind of eliminates a lot of that scratching. And then we finish it up with a glaze, which is a polishing. And this particular glaze is a machine glaze, but you can use this by hand. Use it as often as you like. It doesn't build up. But use a really soft towel. I happen to like cotton t-shirts. My son loves microfibers. So find something really soft, and that should eliminate your swirl mark issues. So it's just time consuming. All right, what's your favorite car to restore? Well, my favorite cars to build are typically customs. But as far as a restoration goes, I have to say 69 Camaro, simply because I've done hundreds of them. Know them inside out and backwards. Just happens to be one of those cars that are very popular, and I've done a bunch of them. So when something becomes easy, obviously that's the one that you like to do. So hope that answers that question. All right, so the last question, he wants to know, when is the motor going into my personal project? Well, some of you are new to the channel, so I'm going to show you what the personal project is before I answer that question. So I am one of those guys that kind of like doing something a little bit different. I don't ever want to pull up to a traffic light and see my mirror image parked next to me. So I did something different. I wanted to do a step van. And step van, basically, because I can put my logo on the side, it becomes a large billboard. But it's going to be mid-engine. So the engine's inside behind the seats. It has been chopped 6 inches. It's shortened 32 inches. I have a scoop built into the side here for air intake for cooling the transmissions. I've narrowed up some fenders for the sides. The rear is 4-linked, coil over. So I got rid of all those heavy leaf springs and so on. And basically it's just going to be a neat little truck that I can show, maybe do a little drag racing with it, and just go have some fun with it. It's getting 632 cubic inch big block. It's about 900 horse, about 800 foot-pounds of torque. Has a 55 Chevy front end on it and a Corvette suspension, rack and pinion, 4-wheel disc brakes, coilovers on all 4 corners. So even though it just looks like a big delivery truck, it's got some things hidden under there. And it's a steel front end, aluminum body. So to answer your question, when's the motor going in? Now, the motor is sitting over here. I have the motor here in a crate. It's a Blueprint Engines 632. It's actually in the crate there, but here, this is the identical motor. It's fuel injected, uses the Holley Super Sniper. So the motor's just sitting here and waiting. The thing that's holding us back is the transmission. When you put 800 foot-pounds of torque through a transmission, it's got to be something special. And not unlike a lot of you guys, finances are a little rough, and my vehicle is the last one to get worked on. So I'm putting together money to build a transmission, and when we achieve that, then that motor will get put in. So Ray, I hope that answers your question. Stay tuned. I mean, as we get progress on it, we'll go ahead and show you where we're at. So meanwhile, you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep those questions coming.